There is a trap that is keeping you overwhelmed, that is keeping you in a position where you feel like life is giving you more than you can handle. The relationship troubles, the financial troubles, the troubles at work, the troubles in your own self confidence. You feel like it's all too much right now. And there is a trap that is keeping you stuck. There are actually a handful of traps. I'm going to get into exactly what those are today. And they're the traps that so many people make, and they're the mistakes that I was making. And this is speaking a lot from my personal experience. By the way, I'm Jason. I help people live better lives. I help people learn how to navigate the experience of being them in a more effective way by giving really simple, really practical, really grounded feedback on how to become the person that you want to be. And I've been doing this for this type of work I've been doing for over 15 years. And so I'm here to share all of that knowledge that I've learned with you today. I've invested $100,000 or more in mentorships, in trainings, in programs, and I have learned so much. I've learned what works and what doesn't. I'm someone who's dealt with overwhelm my whole life, and I tend to attract and work with people that also struggle with overwhelm. So if this is you, you're in the right place. Welcome in. We're going to get started. And if you have any questions, just drop a comment because I love reading your guys' comments. I love getting the feedback. I am someone who works really well with response. So think about this. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you asked. So go ahead and ask good questions because I'm here for you. This is really about you. And what we're going to do today is, first and foremost, I'm going to go over we're going to get settled into our body because I don't want to just give you this information and have it kind of go unappreciated or unheard. So we're going to give you a moment to just tune into your body, a little presencing exercise. And then I'm going to share some ideas on why you're overwhelmed, what might be hidden from your experience currently, and why it's so easy for you to end up in this place, even though you don't like it. You want to be thriving. You want to be successful. And these tips are going to help you today. So again, I'm really glad that you're here. Let's take a moment and just tune into our bodies, all right? I don't know where you are right now, and unless you're driving, I invite you to maybe close your eyes. Maybe just feel what it feels like to be you. Notice the sensation on the top of your head. Notice the sensation in your eyeballs. Notice the sensation in your cheeks, in your tongue. Noticing for both the physical feelings and the emotional feelings as well. We carry emotion in our body, and so I invite you just to welcome any emotion that you are feeling. If you are in that overwhelmed place, if there's anger there, if there's sadness there, if there's bitterness there, if there's frustration there, if there's confusion there, just allowing it to be here now, just allowing it to show up fully. Making your way down to your throat. So many of us carry tension in our throat. You don't need to do anything about that now. Just notice that it's there. Making your way down into your chest, into your belly, solar plexus, sacral center, your root, down through your legs. I'm just going to share some messages for your subconscious brain right now. You're in the right place. You're in exactly the right place. You're in the place to receive this message. You're in the place to take the information from this message and apply it to your life. All of the work that you have been doing has been leading you to this moment. And this moment can spark a beginning of something new. This moment will spark the beginning of something new. And I invite you to carve out time for yourself right now. This video is for you. This space is for you. This is for you to get the healing, the nourishment that you're looking for. All right. How are you feeling? Let me know in the comments. All right. Sometimes we just need a reminder to tune into ourselves, to tune into this present moment. I welcome you to open your eyes whenever you're ready. We're here. We're going to do this thing. If you're overwhelmed, just want you to know that I'm with you. I got your back throughout all of this. One of the biggest traps, and we'll get into it right now, is trap number one is overwhelm is less about what's happening in your life and more about what's happening in your body. It's more about what's happening for you. It's more about how you're experiencing it than it is about your life. And so I'm someone who, when I get overwhelmed, what I see on the outside is all the responsibility, all the tasks, all the people to get back to, all the projects, all of the decision fatigue, all of the things that I have going on in my life. And what I trick myself into believing is that it's the outside world that is causing the internal overwhelm. But the truth is, it is how I'm responding to the outside world. It is how I'm responding to the responsibility. It is how I'm responding to the projects. It is how I'm responding to the deadlines. It's how I'm responding to the asks from my partner or my boss or my kids or my parents. It's how I'm responding to my own life. And I am someone who, first and foremost, is known to go into a place where I go into my thinking mind and I think about all of the external problems. But what's happening to me internally is I am creating a sense of overwhelm. I am feeling overwhelmed. And here's a truth, right, that might sound self-evident, is that there are people, and this isn't meant to put you down or invalidate your experience, there are people out there that are handling way more than you and are not overwhelmed. And there are people that are handling way more than me that are not overwhelmed. And so what that tells me is that we get to develop a skill set that allows us to handle bigger and more things. Because I know that if you're watching this video, you're someone who is meant for more. You're someone who wants more. You're someone who wants an abundant life. You're someone who wants to be in an incredible relationship with someone that you love. You want to build a family. You want to make an impact on your communities. And for people that are meant for more, they're also more likely to become overwhelmed because they're taking on more. They're a yes to life. They're a yes to opportunity. And I know that's you if you're watching this. And so what you need to understand is what you need to develop the awareness for if you want to continue to shift your capacity is you need to understand that what's happening is it's not the stuff on the outside. It's how you're relating to it. And this is the most important piece that you need to understand. And we're going to get into today some more effective ways of dealing with that than how you currently are. Because the second piece that I want to talk about is that you do not have a connection with your body. You don't have a connection with your somatic experiencing. How nice was it when we started off this talk and you got a chance to tune into your body? You got a chance to just be still for a moment. I nearly guarantee that you felt more peace and more ease as a result of just tuning into your body for 2 minutes. And yet you don't do that. Maybe you used to have a meditation practice. Maybe you still do, but it's not actually rooted in tuning into your body. It's still rooted in your mind. That is a problem. Because what happens in the world is that we have experiences. We experience traumatic moments. We suffer through pain. We, as a child, had something hurt us. And that hurt gets stored in our body if it's not released appropriately. And because most of us weren't loved in the most perfect way because we don't have perfect parents, we internalized that trauma. We internalized that pain, and that pain is still stored within our physical body. Then what we do is, because that feels uncomfortable to think about or feel, we start placing our attention everywhere else. But the problem is that we're not sending enough oxygen to our brain. We're not sending the right chemicals to our brain. So it impacts our ability to actually see what the options are around us. And so when we do that, we just create more and more overwhelm. So it feels like this thing where I'm trying to think my way out of the overwhelm, but it's impossible because the overwhelm is stored within your body. I had a mentor, Julian, who's a dear friend and mentor for many years, share this. One of my favorite lines of his was, "You cannot think your way out of confusion. You cannot think your way out of confusion." I'll say it one more time. You cannot think your way out of confusion. And I would add to that, you can't think your way out of overwhelm. You need to feel your way out of overwhelm. And we're going to get into this being the first step, but there's more that you can do from here. But the first thing that you need to recognize is that if you've got tension, if you're not breathing deeply, if you aren't allowing yourself to simply be in any present moment, how do you expect to make clear choices? How do you expect to show up powerfully? How do you expect to see the landscape of possibility? You will not be able to do that. And you've been trying to do that, and it hasn't been working. And that's okay, because we're here to shift that. So let's talk about point number 3. So point number 3 is that you don't have a deep connection with community. I would venture to guess that you are someone who has never really felt totally immersed in community. You've always felt like someone who's different. You've always gravitated towards self-isolation when things get hard. You process your emotions on your own. You feel misunderstood. You feel like asking for help is something that makes you weak. And as a result, you've actually built a very successful life on your own. You have a ton of grit. You've got a ton of resiliency. You work hard, but you know you're constantly at your potential and you're not able to go beyond that. You're not able to go to what your true potential actually is. You're constantly at what you feel like is your limit, but deep down in there somewhere, you know that there's so much more of you. There's so much more of you in community. There's so much more of you in your family. There's so much more of you in your relationship with yourself. There's so much more of you in your business and the things that you do to impact humanity. But right now, the only operating system that you know is through overwhelm. The only operating system that you know is through force, is through gritting your teeth and grinding your way through it. And you've done a really good job with that, because that's how I was. I was that way. I was the type of person where I would just, if I set my mind on something, I was going to make it happen. Come hell or high water. I was going to make it happen. I was going to get that job. I was going to close that deal. I was going to build this thing. I was going to run that race. I was going to win this medal. Whatever it was, I was going to set my mind to it and I was going to do it. And that's actually really important. You need to have that. I'm glad that you have that. But what I've learned is that when trying to take on something bigger, when trying to take on the unknown, when trying to reach your capacity and expand beyond it, a different skill set is actually needed. So I listened a while ago to a podcast, this is back in 2015, with Tim Ferriss and Joshua Waitzkin. And Joshua Waitzkin is the subject of the movie Searching for Bobby Fischer. He was one of the youngest, maybe the youngest grandmaster in chess of all time. He was a great American chess player. He became a world champion in chess. He also became a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Tai Chi push hands. And this man is just such an inspiration. And he was on this podcast and he was explaining his process for learning new things. And what he follows is a very step-by-step process where he immerses himself totally into the thing. And where he focuses his energy is on people who not want to go from, 100th in the world to 10th in the world, who want to go from 1,000th in the world to 100th in the world. He focuses his time and energy and attention on what it takes to go from 10th in the world to number 1, from 5th in the world to number 1. Because that difference is the difference of someone who has all the skill set, but is someone who's able to integrate their unique fingerprint on the situation that they're in. Because if you look at all the greats, like let's just take tennis, for example. I play a lot of tennis. I love tennis. Tennis is a great example. If you look at the game right now, there are two people in tennis that are absolutely dominating the sport, and that's Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. Could not be more different. Jannik Sinner is from northern Italy. He's basically German. He's mostly quite serious, quite disciplined. His game style is very consistent, very lethal, very deadly. Just does the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and he just does it so well that it's completely overpowering to everybody else, except for one person, and that's Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz is the Spanish. He's got the flair. He's moving all around the court. He's getting the crowd involved. He's pointing to the sky. He's having fun. He's trying drop shots. He's got flair all over the place, and he is the only person that can consistently beat Jannik Sinner. And so the two of them have this incredible rivalry, and it brings into focus the exact point that I'm trying to make, which is if you are to reach your fullest potential, you must be in alignment with who you are. Not with what Jannik Sinner is, not with who Carlos Alcaraz is, not with whoever your mentor is, not with whichever person you're following. You reaching your fullest potential is about you learning to embrace your funk, as Joshua Waitzkin would say. It's about you learning to truly master who you are. And I'm not saying that I'm a master of who I am yet, but I am certainly walking that path. I'm walking the path. I show up for you guys in these ways. I teach people, I mentor people. I've got countless students that are going through this process. And I feel more myself than ever. And one of the ways in which I've been able to do that is through community. And so what I would tell you is this: you need to start letting people into your process. You need to start letting people into your journey. And there's a way to do this that I think is really going to work. And that's what I call being in flow. When you relate to people in a flow-based way, that's when things work out a lot better for you. When you relate to people in a force-based way, that's when people tend to not enjoy the experience of being with you. And by and large, I prefer to have people enjoy the experience of being with me. I'm not talking about people pleasing. I'm talking about the way that I'm navigating my experience, the way that the words that I'm choosing when I speak my truth, that they tend to resonate well with other people because they're resonating well with me. That's what I mean. And we can learn to develop this relationship, and that step number 2 that I was telling you about, of tuning into your body first and foremost, and then separately being able to be in a place where you are not needing anyone to do anything different than what they're doing. And this is really important. So many of us get this feeling when someone isn't being the way that we want them to be, where our body contracts, we feel forceful, and we want to change them. I notice this all the time. I'm constantly doing this work. This isn't about you never doing this ever again. It's about bringing this to the forefront of your awareness so that when you're in these interactions, you can actually go ahead and show up differently. Like, for example, when you're meditating, the point isn't to just perfectly breathe and never have any distracting thoughts. Many schools of meditation will teach that the idea is to become a witness to those thoughts, to notice the thoughts without becoming them, to notice the feelings without becoming them. That when we can become the witness, that's how we can stay grounded. And living in flow is a lot like that. We will often default under stress, under overwhelm, under pressure to more force-based patterns, to the stuff that's ingrained within us. And what we need to be able to do is create different patterns when it comes to that. We need to be able to act differently in the moment of overwhelm and in the moment of stress and in the moment of force. And I'll share a story with this. I was just with my dad recently, and I was frustrated by the way that he was communicating. He was telling me that he was feeling like he was not worthy and he was going through this shameful experience. And I was getting very frustrated because he wasn't engaged. I would ask him questions. Hey, what do you think? What do you think that shame is all about? What do you think is underlying that? And he would just say the same stories over and over and over again. And what I had to admit within myself, unfortunately, was that I was not okay with him just having the experience. I needed him to change in that moment. I needed him to heal. I needed him to grow. I needed him to know what I knew. And where did that get me? Burnt out, tired, frustrated in the conversation, and him having made no progress whatsoever. And so we do this all the time. And the goal is to just not stay stuck in that. So if you're interested in learning more about how to build community, just send me a message, leave a comment. I'll go deeper into that. I'll go deeper into flow-based communication, all those things. It's probably more than I can get into today, but I just wanted to lay that out for you now. The final piece I want to talk about, number 4, when it comes to why you're overwhelmed and why you stay stuck in there and why it is such a trap, is 3 things: perfection, avoidance, and fear. And really, perfection and avoidance are just forms of fear. Let's take them one by one. Let's start with perfection. So perfectionism is a thing that we do in order to protect ourselves. It's a way of gaining control in situations where we have no control. We've learned at a very young age that we couldn't control our environment, that our environment was too big, too uncomfortable, too much for us to handle. And so what we did was we started placing our awareness on, if I'm perfect, then I'll get love. If I'm perfect, then I won't have problems. But again, it is rooted in this idea that I'm experiencing pain that I'm unwilling to feel. And I'm not saying an 8-year-old should know how to feel their pain in that way. I'm just saying that you probably didn't, because I didn't. And that pain is still trapped within you. And so perfectionism and getting into the perfectionist world is about learning how to meet that part of you who still believes the only way to get love is through being perfect, is through winning, is through achievement, is through being the best. And you might really enjoy being the best. You might really enjoy winning. That's 2 separate things, because so many of us who are perfectionists have a part within us who still doesn't believe that it's okay to just be. And that part is going to feel overwhelmed if it looks out and sees the circumstances of your life not being perfect. That is part of the underlying root of the overwhelm. And so how do you fix that? How do you meet that part? Well, it involves just sitting down and listening to yourself, sitting down and feeling what is happening in your body. When you notice yourself wanting to be a perfectionist about something, that's the time to simply tune into your body, listen to your body, give the part of yourself who feels like it's not getting enough love, the part of you who never felt loved unless you were perfect, and giving that part of you love now. And then making an agreement that maybe 80% is good enough for right now. Maybe getting it done is better than it being perfect. Maybe getting on to the next task is better than this thing taking weeks and be done quote unquote perfectly, because who knows if it's even going to be perfect the more you work on it. And when you practice this over and over, you will find that the urge to be a perfectionist may not go away. But what you do is you develop a skill set that helps you manage that and helps you handle that. It helps you get back into flow. Let's talk about avoidance. Avoidance fits into the same category as fear. And so we could even say that perfectionism is a type of avoidance, because what we're doing in perfectionism is we're actually avoiding the reality in which we publish our work, in which we put ourselves out there, in which we have the tough conversation. And so what we do is we avoid hard things. We avoid our feelings. We avoid tough conversations. We avoid taking the first step because we haven't figured out the second step and the third step and the 10th step. And we fail to realize that the flow reveals the next step when we're ready. It is our role, it is our duty, it is the ask of us to simply take the next step and take the next step and take the next step. You can only focus on one thing at a time. You can really only do one thing at a time. And you may need to surrender to all the parts of you who feel like there's a million things that you need to be doing. Because at the end of the day, you are held in community. You are looked after. You're looked after by a higher power. You're looked after by God. You are going to be taken care of. The more you surrender to that, the more you are willing to stand in your space of service, in your space of servitude, the more you're able to do that on a daily basis, the less overwhelmed you're going to feel. And I absolutely promise you that. All right, guys, take what I share with you. Let me know what you're going to be applying. Let me know what you want me to go deeper on. Let me know what you are implementing into your life or where you're still struggling. I appreciate y'all for being here.